Thank you, ma'am, for that melodious rendition. The book, Case for Ram, The Untold Insider's Story, is a riveting account of the events and incidents that unfolded during the arguments at the historic Ram Janmabhoomi case. Brought to life by eminent counsel who were intimately involved in the preparation and the arguments for the case, the book is an insight into the heart of the happenings as they took place, one after another, anecdotal and factual. For this special evening, we have with us Justice Shri L. Nageshwar Rao, former judge of the Supreme Court of India, and a great friend of Shri K. Parasaran, who has joined us from Delhi on this occasion. A much sought after arbitrator all across the world, it is my privilege to welcome him. It is a matter of happiness that we have a nonagenarian companion of Shri K. Parasaran, Dr. Shri H.V. Hande, former Minister for the Government of Tamil Nadu, whose knowledge and expression of constitutional history has earned him a reputation as a public intellectual and a socio-political commentator. Reflective of a momentous era, his presence has added a touch of conscious awareness of cultural history, as it were. God's advocate, whose personality and historic efforts form the core of the book, Shri K. Parasaran's special presence on this occasion is another opportunity to relive the moments of a legendary career, dotted with achievements and milestones that are utterly unique, inimitable, and extraordinary. A sparkling jewel of the All India Bar, his determination and indomitable energy in the run-up to the arguments in the Ram Janmabhoomi case is a saga of perseverance and divine will. I also welcome Shri C.S. Vaidyanathan, Senior Advocate, whose untiring efforts and in-depth preparation with his advocacy deserve our unstinted appreciation. In Shri CSV, we see the strength of single-minded purpose and its impact on the outcome of arguments. A benefactor to many, his role in promoting selfless philanthropy deserves noteworthy mention. His expertise in interstate water disputes and the nature of the nation's federal character have elevated him high in the legion of constitutional lawyers, just like his respected senior, Shri K.K. Venugopal. It is to this stage that I welcome all our dignitaries, judges past and present, senior advocates and advocate friends, apart from the audience and the media who have gathered here. Now, may I request Shri Sridhar Pothraju, Senior Advocate, to present a bouquet to Justice Shri L. Nageshwar Rao as a mark of appreciation and gratitude. May I request Shri Anirudh Sharma to felicitate Dr. Shri H.V. Hande with a bouquet signifying the occasion to mark this evening's book release. May I request Shri Sridhar Pothraju to present Shri K. Parasaran with a bouquet conveying the sentiments of this evening's event. May I request Shri Anirudh Sharma to felicitate Shri C.S. Vaidyanathan with a bouquet marking decades of friendship and bonhomie at the bar. Before the book is released, may I request one of the authors, Senior Advocate Sridhar Pothraju, to say a few words about the book, its making and the story behind it.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. So, my pranams to Parasaran sir, Justice Nageshwar sir, Hande sir, Vaidyanathan sir, my colleague Anirudh, all the dignitaries in the auditorium today. It's a great privilege to be standing before such august guests to introduce the book to the world. This is a journey which is very emotional for all of us who are part of the preparation and presentation of the case. Because Ram is a part of our existential identity and a yardstick of good conduct. And that's how all of us are raised, more so in the southern part of country. I'm a Telugu from Hyderabad. When I go to north, the greeting in UP and other places is Ram Ram. Here is a case where we were required to establish that Ram exists and that he was actually born, and that is not a mythology as some would choose to call him. One wonders, like when we go to places of birth of Ram, which was being worshipped for hundreds of years, he's also recognized as a cultural and civilizational heritage in other countries which are theocracies other than Hinduism, be it Thailand or other southeastern countries. So this question is very emotional in the sense that my father is named Sri Ram. Now for me, what was the significance of this name and why was it given is a question which started cropping up. And when we went through the rigors of this case and the judgment came out, 2019 November, in a few months, there were articles published by people who do not believe in the Sanatana Dharma or the faith that is practiced in our land, and who were trying to degrade the judgment by their own canards. I would call it misinformation campaigns, sustained. So we, as people who were part of the case, felt it was our duty to actually tell the story of how this case has been built, argued, and then led to the judgment which has its own strengths to stand on. Now, this book is our attempt to dispel the darkness of misinformation campaign which has been carried on in the spirit of Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya. So this is a light, a diya we seek to offer to the nation and all the Ram Bhaktas to show how evidence has been placed before the courts of law to tell the story of this legal battle. The efforts put in by Sri Parasaran sir, we were witness to it. Anirudh and me virtually were walking him from his car to the court hall and then back every day. At 92 years, he would walk, catching up his breath and not pause for a moment, but would tell us, please get these judgments. He would rattle out propositions of law, the documents he would like to be going through immediately, and also telling us what is to be prepared for the post-lunch session right in the morning. So that kind of commitment that what we saw was something very unusual, which required to be documented because this nation is seriously in short of good role models, ethical role models, people who practice values and ethics as professionals without any compartmentalization of their character as a good professional and a bad human, or a bad human and a good professional, or vice versa. Here is a man who practices his virtues, his ethics in every aspect of his life. And it's important that professionals and the youngsters in our country know about the discipline, the dedication, and the efforts put in. Similarly, Sri C.S. Vaidyanathan sir, the amount of efforts he had to put in to take the entire load of evidence. I mean, to just give you a bird's eye view, I had documented and digitized these records while the matter was being prepared, and this was pre-corona, pre-digital hearing and virtual hearing era. We had all the documents digitized, we had OCR, we were having laptops running in the court to search the documents, and when I decided that this needs to go online, we put it on my website called Vada Prativada in 2020, hoping that people would actually care to look at the records and then counter the false information or the narratives being built, the canards being spread. So nobody cares to look at facts or truth because it's not very attractive, or it doesn't serve the purpose of the people who seek to spread misinformation. The efforts put in leading the evidence, the crux of this case, or the edifice on which this case really turned, was the archaeological evidence. Vaidyanathan sir, as a student of archaeology, started his preparation years ago, talking to the experts, learning the basic concepts of archaeology, and then mastering it as he would do any subject that he would choose to touch upon, and presented the case before the court. Then Mr. Ranjit Kumar also was there. See, what happens is that anyone familiar with the art of advocacy would know that there's always a counsel who's ready to take over in any event of probably a counsel not being available or whatever. So Mr. Ranjit Kumar was always there, and he contributed by leading a certain part of the evidence. And thereafter, Mr. P.S. Narasimha, as he then was as a senior counsel, would contribute with his insights into Skanda Purana and the Itihasas, which established the significance of visiting Ram Janmabhoomi. So these are the people who led this entire battle, with a lot of my colleagues who are part of this audience. P.V. Yogeshwaran, Bhaktivardhan Singh is not here, Aditi Dani, Ashwin, and of course Anirudh Sharma himself. Now what do I speak about Anirudh Sharma? This man is a researcher trained under the best, Sri Parasaran sir's chamber colleague. He probably decided to check all variants of COVID. So he started researching every variant of COVID, 1, 2, 3, and it's taken a serious toll on his health. Even today he's gasping because it's taken a serious toll. But he started the process. The idea germinated in his mind, and he persuaded me to get on board to complete this journey, and it took us 5 years before this book is before you today. I think my role in this book, I think professionals in the legal profession would very well understand. I've settled the book, and the Anirudh Sharma, as an advocate on record, did the labor of drawing the book. So I think all kudos to Anirudh, and thank you for being there always with all the commitment and dedication. I now request all of you to go through the book. This is about a 400-page book with 300 plus footnotes. So we decided that the story of our civilizational revival or awakening needs to be known to everyone, so that any misinformation campaign will dispel itself by showing this light. On the eve of Diwali, I offer this light called the Case for Ram with the facts, records, and we've restricted ourselves to the records part of the court and the contemporaneous news reports of independent publishers and journalists who covered the case, so that there is no room for any speculation as to was there any evidence or there's no evidence. I think it's for each to read for themselves and draw their own conclusion. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Sridhar sir, for contextualizing the book and its backdrop, and for turning the air of anticipation into the breeze of book buying. Now for the awaited moment of this evening, I request Justice Shri L. Nageshwar Rao, former Judge of the Supreme Court of India, to kindly release the book Case for Ram, The Untold Insider's Story, authored by Anirudh Sharma and Sridhar Potharaju, and brought out by Rupa Publishing. For a first, may I request Justice Nageshwar Rao to present the first copy of the book to Shri H.V. Hande after symbolically opening the wrapper. May I request all our dignitaries on stage to hold up copies of the book and stand for our photo moment. Thank you, sirs. The book is now released for our literary and intellectual flavors to relish. And having already heard Sri Sridhar Potharaju speak, it is my pleasure to say a few words in the honor of our chief guest, Justice L. Nageshwar Rao. Beginning his legal career in undivided Andhra Pradesh, he shifted practice to the Supreme Court and was designated as a senior advocate at the turn of the millennium in the year 2000. Rising as a dazzling star on the legal stage, he became one of India's most sought-after lawyers, appearing in a wide variety of cases across state high courts and at the Supreme Court. Known for his nuanced attention to detail and intricate preparation, his unfailing punctuality and professional courtesy became a hallmark for many to emulate. Having spent 3 stints as the Additional Solicitor General, each of them adding to his lustrous career, he was directly elevated to the Supreme Court on the 13th of May 2016 and retired on June 7, 2022 after an illustrious career on the bench. May I invite Justice L.N. Rao to speak on the occasion.
Good evening, everyone. The senior advocate Sridhar Potharaju was telling you, you can go through that book of 450 pages, like normally he argues in court. Don't venture to go through the book just now for 450 pages, even if you have that book. He came to me on Monday and he gave me the book. And I said, this is about 450 pages, it's going to take some time for me to read. And then he said, it's all right, you can just go through the book, you'll understand what the case is all about. I asked Sridhar, is there any other book of this nature where the preparation of a case has been chronicled? He said that to his knowledge there is no other book where the lawyers working on a case, the junior lawyers especially, write about how the journalism telling its students that when you write or read something, you have to write for a housewife in an average family. That's what you want to convey to everybody. He said that what we have done in this book is not for lawyers. It's for a layman to read and then understand what court proceedings are, how much effort a lawyer puts in, and what do I found it to be a fascinating exercise taken up by Sridhar and Anirudh. I started my practice in 1984, and the initial days of my practice, he used to visit Hyderabad as an Attorney General. There was another sensational case in Andhra Pradesh then. To see Mr. Parasaran argue matters in court, especially that matter where he came. I think initially Palkiwala was appearing for N.T. Ramarao, thereafter Ram Jethmalani came. And he was the Attorney General and he was appearing for the government. And thereafter he came to Hyderabad on a few occasions, and whenever we heard that Mr. Parasaran was coming to argue a case, all of us would tell our seniors that today we will not be able to handle work. We want to go and see him argue. Sridhar was mentioning about leaders of the bar, role models of the bar. Why do you need role models? I don't know how many of you are lawyers. I see retired judges, I see some senior lawyers and other lawyers here. I'm sure that there will be people who are not lawyers. Most of you might not be lawyers. But it doesn't make a difference. I will tell you about the legal profession and then how lawyers grow up in the legal profession, learning from their seniors. I had a senior by name Parasaran. He was the son-in-law of a former Advocate General, D.V. Nageshwar was one of the. I was with him for about 5 years. By the time I left his office, I was drafting writ petitions because I used to take dictation from him all the time. Though there was a stenographer, he used to tell me, you take dictation, you will learn. And later when I was filing writ petitions, judges used to tell me, it's exactly like what your senior was doing. You learn so much from working with the senior. Sridhar, Anirudh and the other lawyers who were with Parasaran in this case, they would have had an opportunity of learning so much, which will stand in good stead all their lives. This is an experience which they will never forget. This is a God-given opportunity for them to work with Mr. Parasaran. We have lawyers. There are so many lawyers in this country, about 25 lakh lawyers. You have average lawyers, you have good lawyers, you have great lawyers. But there are only a few legends, and Parasaran is one. See, I have been seeing him from the day I started my practice. And I have been seeing him in action also in the Supreme Court. After I shifted to the Supreme Court in 95, a year or two later, one day he caught hold of my hand in the veranda and then he said, Andhra Kesari. I said, I don't know why he told me Andhra Kesari. He said, you'll go a long way. On my appointment as AST in 2003, I came to pay my respects to him. I went to his house. I thought after half an hour of speaking to him, he'll let me go. He said, I want to take you somewhere. He took me to Parasaran temple. He said that his blessings will always be with you. I would never forget the love and affection which Parasaran showed to me. I'm not the only person. I know of a number of persons who are practicing in the Supreme Court who are my age, who have so much admiration for Parasaran, not only because of his knowledge, not only because of his skills as a lawyer, but because of his personality. You look up to somebody who is elderly for guidance. You look up to somebody even without guidance. You learn from how he behaves in court. Why do lawyers tell the juniors, go and sit in court, don't waste your time outside? Because by merely watching lawyers perform in court, you learn. You learn from what they are saying and what not to say also. And that apart, I wanted to ask him certain things about this case. I will ask him after this meeting is over. He has been attached with this case even when the case was going on in Allahabad. So he was being consulted then onwards. He had some sentimental attachment to this case, in spite of which I don't know how he detached himself from this case when he was arguing this case. This is something which is intriguing to me. While I was going through the book, the effort that he was putting at an advanced age and failing health, and the intensity with which the lawyers were working in this case, you would definitely be not detached from a case. It's quite difficult. Say, I've been a lawyer all my life except about 6 years. I know how difficult it is for you to not get attached to a case. When you argue a very big case, you're thinking too much about it, and then all the time you're thinking about it, and then you definitely cannot get away from that case. This book is one book which I have seen. Lawyers on one side not being partial to their clients or to their work. Not even a word has been said against the other side. I think this is the beauty of Sanatana Dharma. I congratulate the authors for maintaining the discipline which they might have learned from Mr. Parasaran. Courtesy. I've seen some photographs of Mr. Parasaran standing with Rajiv Dhawan. I read in the book that he waited 15 minutes for Rajiv Dhawan to come down to the car park after the arguments were over. My acquaintance with this case, though I was not sitting on the bench, I was a judge there. Justice Bobde was on the bench. He is a very good friend to me, and then we used to meet almost every other day. And he used to keep telling me about this case, how intense the battle was in court. Lawyers, when they argue cases, they don't give an inch to the other side. And that's what they are supposed to do as well. But after the case is over, you don't carry this rancor outside court. And Mr. Parasaran, he maintained this, and then he gave equal importance to Rajiv Dhawan and his team as well. I saw another photo where he put his hand over the shoulder of Ejaz Maqbool, who is the advocate and record for the other side. So whatever you do, you're doing for your client, but you're not an enemy or an opponent to the lawyer. This is something which every lawyer has to learn. And what is it that the people who are not connected with this profession of law, how is it that you're going to benefit out of reading this book? Sridhar was saying that all of you should read the book. What is it that you would understand by reading this book? This was the most important case that was going on for about 10-15 years in this country. The entire country was waiting with bated breath when this judgment was delivered. Not because of what was going to happen. People were anxious as to what is going to happen after the judgment is delivered. Even amongst the judges, we used to discuss whichever way the judgment is going to go, what would be the consequences of this judgment. Fortunately, everything went well. There was absolutely no problem after the judgment came, which means that this judgment was acceptable to everyone. You will read from the book about the efforts that are put in by lawyers, especially Mr. Parasaran, Mr. Vaidyanathan, Mr. Ranjit Kumar, Narsimha, and the younger lawyers who were assisting them day in and day out. They have really toiled for years together to get documents. They were going into history as to what happened from 1800s onwards when the cases were filed, even trying to get travelogues and what was written about Ram Janmabhoomi even earlier in 1500s and 1600s as well. And the number of documents in various languages which were put in court. I was reading the judgment. In the judgment, they refer to about 7-8 languages. And there was an effort made by the Supreme Court to get all those translated in English. The delay was for various reasons in court. And depositions and documents, several thousands of documents were placed on record. One incident which I read from the book, which we don't get from the judgment, is about a point of res judicata raised by the other side. And I think it was NAFDE who argued the point of res judicata. And all of us only know about the CPC of 1908. We never knew about a CPC prior to that. The answer was given by Mr. Parasaran, who said that let us look into the CPC prior to 1908. You look into the 1885 CPC, and there the answer was. It's not only law, it's about the legal history, it's about the knowledge, it's about the memory. Mr. Parasaran, even now, I think, can reload judgments. That's the beauty, that's a God-given gift that has been, that he has. I have seen the judgments. The judgment refers to several judgments of the High Court on different points about whether a place can be a legal person, a juristic person. I think he came out with so many judgments. All this is not only work, but it also innovative thinking that brings out the best in a person. And as I said, that there are very few people who can match Mr. Parasaran in the skill of a legal professional. And actually, he says that he did this case for Ram. I don't want to pitch it that extent. Ram was very lucky in having Mr. Parasaran as his lawyer. So, insofar as legal professionals are concerned, I'm sure they'll also get an insight into how a case is prepared, because a detailed account has been given by the lawyers as to how they went about it, as to how they were discussing matters. And one thing which I have to mention is this. You can't go by external appearances. Yogeshwaran, I know him for about 20 years. I never realized that Yogeshwaran, can you please stand up, Yogeshwaran? Only after I read this book, I realized about the knowledge and the efforts put in by Yogeshwaran. I always used to take Yogeshwaran as a happy-go-lucky fellow. He used to brief me when I was a lawyer. When I was a judge, he used to appear before me regularly, but I never knew about the intent he had and his interactions with Mr. Parasaran, which have been vividly described by the authors in this book. Congratulations, Yogeshwaran, for all the work, and then I wish you all the best in the future. Lawyers learn so much, as I said, from reading this book. Laymen would have to dispel their opinion about lawyers. And that, I think, which can be done to a little extent by reading this book. Stephen Breyer, who was an associate judge of the US Supreme Court for about 26, 28 years, he retired in 2022. His brother was a lawyer. There was a book that was written about lawyers being compared to scorpions. So Stephen Breyer was telling his brother, have you read this book? Then his brother told him that, what sort of a book is this? How can people write like this? And people can't criticize lawyers, especially judges can't criticize lawyers. But the problem in the society is that we legal professionals are really not respected. Not now. Even in the 1500s, when Gulliver Travels was written by Jonathan Swift. So Gulliver also says that lawyers are engaged to make black white and white black, and they're paid to do that. And judges accept whatever they say. This has been going on for centuries together, but it doesn't mean that we lawyers do not have a role to play in society building. Roscoe Pound said that this profession of lawyering is for public good. This is the only profession, ladies and gentlemen, that a person can do something for the society doing his own activity, whether he's in the office or he's in the court. There's no other profession which matches this profession insofar as the service to the society is concerned. And when you see cases like this being argued dispassionately, and when you also watch how the lawyers are at work, which you might not have, but you definitely can visualize when you read this book, you will understand how important lawyers are to this society. And the other aspect which I found is about the description of work that is done by judges in this. There is some sort of a misnomer in the society that judges don't work. On and off, you keep hearing lectures being given saying, why do these judges need holidays? Like school children, they have holidays for Diwali, Dasara, summer, etc. People who understand how the institution works would make out why they need it. When you read this book, you would understand the thousands and thousands of hours Mr. Parasaran and his team might have put just to make out how they present the case. The most important part of lawyering is not only preparing, anticipating what the judges are going to ask you, anticipating what the other side is going to argue, and then trying to find answers before you go to court so that you're not caught off your feet when you're making your submissions in court. That is the reason why lawyers keep thinking and they keep working. I have my own experiences where I've spent sleepless nights when I was arguing cases, thinking about some obscure case, not the case which I was arguing. I am sure Mr. Parasaran must have spent these 70, 75 years doing the same thing. Most of you lawyers also would also have experienced this, but people do not know the amount of mental stress a lawyer goes through and the time that is spent on preparing a case. Just take the case of a judge then. How many cases does a judge read in a day? A Supreme Court judge reads about 50-60 cases every day in the evening. When it comes to Mondays and Fridays, on the other days you have at least 30 cases that are listed. And every judge has to go through this process of reading all these briefs. Ultimately, on a Monday and a Friday, cases might be dismissed, but it doesn't mean that the judges don't read. They'll have to read and go to court. Where is the time, having been from the bar, being well acquainted with what happens in the Supreme Court? I used to take 5 to 6 hours every day to read briefs. And you have to write judgments, and you have to think when you write judgments. Writing judgments is not a ministerial job. Especially in the Supreme Court, when you lay down law, in cases like this, how many months they would have spent writing this judgment? A 1,000-page judgment that is written in this case, referring to all the volumes and volumes of papers that were looked into by the High Court, referring to all the judgments that are referred to by the lawyers. Actually, this is one of the best tasks that have been taken up by the Supreme Court in finishing the judgment in time. There was this pressure of a Chief Justice retiring after the case was heard, and the judgment had to be delivered before the Chief Justice retired. Just imagine the amount of work that the judges have put in. It is not only this judgment, even the work that is done by a judge otherwise also. Saturdays and Sundays are set apart for writing judgments and reading journals, which people don't realize. Judges are not machines. They just don't work from Monday to Friday and forget about what they have done. They are not employees. They are not manual laborers. You go and then work and come home and then watch your TV and then sleep. It doesn't happen for judges and lawyers. They keep working 24 hours. When Mr. Parasaran was working for 18 hours a day for most of his life, 18 hours a day he is at his desk, reading and then trying to think, trying to find out answers to so many cases. He must have done thousands of sensational cases all his life. This might be one of the biggest because he was attached to this case, but otherwise he has done even more important cases with higher stakes in the sense not money, otherwise, appearing for the government, etc. So look at judges and look at the effort that they are putting in. This book refers to this work that is done by judges. One thing I liked about this book is this. Credit has been given to all quarters of the legal profession. I spoke about lawyers, spoke about judges, and even junior lawyers who have done their work. And as I have already mentioned, not a word said against the other side. And it's not something not said against them. It's all praises for the other side. I'm sure that this is the culture that has been shown by the authors. Mr. Rajiv Dhawan, senior counsel, has been praised for the efforts that have been put in. And the other lawyers also, they have been mentioned, youngsters, for doing a lot of work. So this is something which you will find very interesting in reading it. One thing you need not be afraid of is there's not too much of legalese in all this. There's not too much of law. There might be reference to judgments, but there is a clarity in what has been written of what are the issues that came up in this case and how they have been decided, how lawyers have presented the case, and then how the judgment has come. So it is easy for even a layman to read the book and then understand, if at all you're interested in finding out how the solution for Ram Janmabhoomi came. So I would recommend that all of you read this book, and this would definitely make a very interesting reading. Once I started reading, I couldn't stop reading, and then I finished it fast. All of you also would find it very interesting. I would want to mention something which is very important, which I have learned. See, we are all Ekalavyas. We did not work. We didn't have the opportunity to work with Mr. Parasaran. But there are so many people from the bar, as I said, who watch the leaders of the bar and then they try to mold themselves. There are a few things which I learned from him. And there are a few things which people like me also would have learned, especially from this part of the country. You would not see too many senior advocates. When I was growing up as a senior advocate, we only had 3 or 4 people like Mr. Parasaran, to whom we looked up to. Looked up to in the sense we were not going and asking them for advice. We were seeing what they were doing. We were also seeing what they were not doing. One thing which I learned from him is not to indulge in speaking about your cases outside the court. I have never seen Mr. Parasaran give an interview anywhere insofar as a case is concerned. I have never seen other seniors also from this part of the country doing it. It has become a very bad habit for lawyers as well as some judges, retired judges, speaking about cases. I think this is something which we will have to restrain ourselves from. Lawyers are supposed to argue cases in court. Judges are only to speak through their judgments. There's no point in unnecessarily going to the press. I think that doesn't work well. This is something, as I said, which we learned from people like Parasaran. What you do is what you go and then perform in court. This is your job to do. And apart from this, the most important thing that I have learned from him is, hard work, yes, you have to. If you have to succeed in this profession without hard work, you would never succeed in the profession. Integrity is something which I have learned from him. Integrity, you can see it. Integrity is not one aspect. Integrity is in thought. Integrity is also in action. Integrity is also in speech. I think this is what Thirukural says. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Your address was a journey in reverential nostalgia and the impact of professional guidance reinforcing the truth of relationships in this remarkable profession. Surely, like in our times, so many of us lined up to watch you argue at various courts all across the country. Your explication of judicial time is both necessary and welcome, for it is in that the realization of work and life lies. We have with us today a friend of Sri K. Parasaran, a special friend whose association has spanned decades, a former Minister of Health in the government of Tamil Nadu between 1980 and 1986. His innings in politics as public service started with his days in the Swatantra Party. An avid socio-political commentator, his writings include books on constitutional history, the national emergency, and his tome on the Kamba Ramayanam, which was brought out by Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan. A personality with a rare record of public and medical service as a doctor, his presence is indeed valued today. May I invite Dr. Sri H.V. Hande to say a few words.
Friends, I'm not taking much of your time. At the outset, I have to give my pranams to our Bhishma Pitamaha, our Sri Parasaranji. The book kodunga. Today we are here to release an excellent book, Case for Ram, written by Aniruddha Sharma ji and Sridhar Pottaraju. It's a book, get-up is excellent. I am quite confident the contents also would be excellent. We have Justice Nageshwar Rao, Mr. Vaidyanathan, and other friends here. I shall take briefly all of you here because I am also 98 completing. The first thing is, we as a nation should try to develop self-respect. I am very, very sad. I had participated in the freedom movement. I was beaten by the British police. I feel very sad that we have not yet realized what it is to be person respecting ourselves. I'll just take briefly. In 1526, April 21st, 4:10 p.m., a fellow comes with 20 cannons. He is known as Babar. Even before that, we were not in power. There was another rascal, Ibrahim Lodi dynasty. That Lodi dynasty was demolished within 20 minutes because he had come from it. And that Babar brought the Mughal regime. Since then, we had mainly 6 Mughals up to Aurangzeb. Every one of them had an eye on Ram temple. They wanted to remove Ram temple and bring Babri Masjid in honor of the great Mughal emperor who has started the Mughal dynasty. The worst of the villains of the 6 people, the Mughals who were thereafter were only ordinary fellows. But the main Mughals were 6. After 1526, 1556, Humayun, etc., the last one, the worst one, the last was the worst one, Aurangzeb. He takes up ruling this country and we are shamelessly under him. Anybody who is not a Muslim has to pay jizya tax. That was Aurangzeb. And we Indians shamelessly had a road in Delhi calling Aurangzeb Marg. Now it has been removed. And Dr. Abdul Kalam Marg, I think. Shameless fellows like us, Indians. I am ashamed. And that fellow, Aurangzeb, he completely destroyed that temple of ours and then brought the domes. We tolerated all this. And still there are Indians, shameless Indians supporting these things. Fortunately for us, on the scene, the matter went to the court finally, and then fortunately, I'll give you one example because I was a minister in MGR's cabinet. Madurai meetia Sundara Pandian. Ramar Kovil meetia Parasaran. Now, for this wonderful gentleman, Mr. Anirudh Sharma ji, will you please come here? Great person. This book on Case for Ram, I am going to give him a gift. I had written this translation, Kamba Ramayanam, So far, it was never been translated. People, they talk about the Tamil chauvinism, everything. But I was surprised to find, during the last several centuries, no one thought of translating Kamba Ramayanam into any other language. So, the authority on Kamba Ramayanam, senior to our Parasaran ji, former Chief Justice M.M. Ismail, I asked him, he said, if you have courage, you translate. I translated, I gave him Sundarakandam. He said, it's excellent, I am going to give you a beautiful 8-page foreword. The book is sold all over the world by Bharati Vidya Bhavan. So, I wanted the book to be kept in the new Ayodhya temple. So, I chose my friend Mr. K. Annamale and our beloved Prime Minister Modi ji. He received the 2 copies and he has kept them just by the side of Valmiki Ramayanam. I am going to give this as a present. This is a costly book, not because of the price, because I took 8 years into 3 hours, 365 days for writing this, translating. I shall give, this is for, right, Anirudh Sharma ji. This is a gift for you. And the other copy I am giving to both of us. My second language was opportunity for him because we both could speak in Telugu. So, once again, let us dedicate ourselves to maintain self-respect. We shall never be ruled by others. Many of you do not know Dr. Ambedkar. I can quote, I am thankful to Mr. Justice Prakash. He gave me a lot of material. I wrote a book on Ambedkar. He said, we may lose this independence again because what happened earlier, he explained day by day and said, at any cost, we should take an oath that we shall not lose our independence and maintain freedom. And the most important thing, therefore, is Bharata Mata. And for this Bharata Mata, this case for Ram is a wonderful gift. I am grateful to the organizers for having given me this opportunity to express my anguish and sentiments. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that brief yet profound address of appreciation that was touching. Your emphasis on the movement of history and its contemporary relevance for the national future was an expression of your heartfelt nationalism, sir. It is my pleasure to say a few words about Sri C.S. Vaidyanathan, senior advocate who requires no introduction, a distinguished junior of an illustrious member of our bar, Sri K.K. Venugopal, the letters of whose name KKV evoke an unmatched alchemy of achievement and equanimity. Sri CSV was designated a senior advocate in 1992 and was appointed the first additional Solicitor General in 1998. A highly sought after senior counsel across India, his stature and professionalism have earned him an enviable spot amongst the greatest lawyers of this country. Culturally conscious, his tremendous support for all causes that are Indian treasures in its heritage and history make him a very special guest this evening. May I request CSV sir to say a few words.
Good evening, everyone. Justice Nageshwar, respected senior Parasaran ji, respected elder statesman Dr. H.V. Hande, the authors Sridhar Pottaraju and Anirudh, distinguished former judges, senior advocates, friends. I have had the good fortune to be associated with two eminent persons, eminent senior advocates. Mr. Vanugopal, whom I joined as a junior, and Shri Parasaran ji, with whom I have been associated in a number of cases, apart from Ram Janmabhoomi, also Kaveri water disputes. You know, the plaint in the case was settled by Lal Babu, Sri Lal Narayan Sinha. It's a very interesting thing that at that time, I came to be associated because of Lal Babu. But when the proceedings were going on in Allahabad, I was not. But after the judgment of Allahabad High Court, some of the friends in the Rashtriya Sanskrit Samsthan came to me, and it was Yogeshwaran and Bhakti who came to me and then wanted me to appear and started briefing me. And Mr. Nageshwar mentioned about Yogi. I must say, Mr. Parasaran and I have had the good fortune of being briefed thoroughly by Yogi and Bhakti, apart from Sridhar and Anirudh. It is God's blessings that we have in our midst, Shri Parasaran ji. God has given him good health and longevity for a good reason. Not only Ram Janmabhoomi, we need him to lead us, guide us in regard to Mathura and Kashi. We need him to lead us also in the 9-judge bench on Sabarimala, though it is in regard to the access to Sabarimala, but I think it's going to lay down important principles in regard to religion and the law, religious rights, and his guidance is very, very important. And our prayers for his good health and longevity. Kumar and Mr. Narasimha, who is today a judge of the Supreme Court, they put in a lot of hard work and have been very involved. There have been a number of lawyers, not just in Supreme Court, but in Allahabad. They have also been civil suit. It is trial, the evidence that is important, and they had put in a lot of hard work, and that gave us the requisite material and support to thereafter argue in the Supreme Court. Mr. Justice Nageshwar Rao was mentioning about 18 hours of work of Mr. Parasaran. I know that Mr. Parasaran sometimes at 1:30, 2 a.m. will suddenly wake up with some idea and will call one of his juniors and ask them to note it down. Such was his tremendous involvement. Even while sleeping, he used to think about the case, and because he was anticipating the kind of questions that would be raised by the other side and by the court, and he will get ready for that. Some issue, for example, reference was made to res judicata and how he researched the old CPC and came up with the answer. Much after Ram Janmabhoomi judgment came, when the Sabarimala issue was referred to 9 judges, Mr. Nariman, Fali Nariman, raised an objection which was not anticipated, but of course Mr. Parasaran had anticipated, in regard to how a review is maintainable. And how the review can be referred to a larger bench. And he knew the case, he knew exactly in which year the judgment had been pronounced. When was raising the objection, the book came and he was ready to respond to that. That is how we have learned from him one should be ready with the kind of answers that we may have to be ready to give to the court if such questions are raised. Justice Nageshwar Rao also mentioned about how the book has complemented Dr. Ajit Dhawan. But I must tell you, the opposite side could not have had a better lawyer than Dr. Ajit Dhawan. As a Hindu, he had perhaps some issues in dealing with his religion and the case, but he did a thorough job, researched so much, and we did have a formidable opponent, and I must say that the other side will ever be thankful to Dr. Ajit Dhawan for the case that he put up. And not just Dr. Ajit Dhawan, there have been other lawyers who were not necessarily professing the Islamic religion, but were actually Hindus and were involved in the case, but they did a professional job, not because they were involved, but there was a difference in the team that worked for Ram. We worked not only for the case, but for a cause. So our approach was slightly different because the cause was in the forefront of our mind, and that's how we were put with everybody. Nobody looked for rewards in the case. And when the case was done, even the government, which today supports the Ram Temple, was not in power. That's important. When the case started. So nobody looked for rewards in the case, but worked for the cause. I don't want to take up more of your time. There's a lot written in the book. I'm sure all of you will manage to find some time to read the book. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for that address, echoing and reflecting on the tapestry of contributions that have been interwoven in this historic case, and for reiterating the sanctity of the judicial process and the essence of advocacy. Now, it is time to invite God's advocate in court, Sri K. Parasaran, who at one point in his life thought that it would be spent in the 5-kilometer radius spanning his house and the Madras High Court. His rare humility made him remark that was it for this Ram Janmabhoomi case that God and destiny competed with each other to make him the legendary lawyer that he is? For such a distinct personality, whose legal industry and scholarship are unrivaled, this is an evening of cherished tributes in a case that is deeply connected to the nation's corpus of culture and belief. May I invite Sri K. Parasaran. His rare humility made him remark that was it for this Ram Janmabhoomi case that God and destiny competed with each other to make him the legendary lawyer that he is? For such a distinct personality, whose legal industry and scholarship are unrivaled, this is an evening of cherished tributes in a case that is deeply connected to the nation's corpus of culture and belief. May I invite Sri K. Parasaran. This is an evening of cherished tributes in a case that is deeply connected to the nation's corpus of culture and belief. May I invite Sri K. Parasaran.
Vaidyanathan spent lot of time. He did all the relevant oral evidence and documents to correlate it to the authority elders. And submitted to court. I will outline the case and all the certain aspects. But in every point which I argue, he will give you the entire evidence in the case. This was the case. Normally, people do not know how a case is argued in court because normally they only go by ultimate result. This is a very unique case. There is in the past no case like Ayodhya's case. There will in the future be no case like the Ayodhya case. Na bhuto, na bhavishyat. And it is, I cannot attribute or to myself or appropriate the credit. The credit goes to the entire team which assisted. My own colleague and junior, I won't say junior, my colleague, Anil Sharma. Then she photographed. Anil Sharma is very analytical. He was very good in working in case law and law. Photographed. I will say Vijay the cases which require. 5 or 6 volumes of bound Siraj copies of the case law will be on my table the next day. This is photographed. Like this, I cannot catalog all of them. I misappropriate to the juniors of my son Mohan Parasaran to whenever they found time to be cooking this case. And Bhakti, his name starts with Bhakti. He was really a Bhakti of Ram worked very hard. He was also thorough with the full facts. The cricket match is won. The captain might have hit a century or bowled for a duck. Others might have contributed to the winning of the match. Luckily today they got the practice of putting man of the match. And the bowler showing 5 balls. When he takes 5 wickets or more. And I wish there was some method by which I could express my appreciation and thanks to the team which assisted. Not to acknowledge the help rendered by others is a sin. The 3 sins are never washed out. Mitra Dohi, Kritagrasya, Yasya Vishwasa Gautaka. There is one who forgets the help rendered by others. This is one. Secondly, what is important? Book has been released only now. I have to go through it. But from what Justice Ellen now spoke and what they were telling me in the past few days only, is they have covered the entire thing in the what happened in court. And I must also tell you that I had a very tough opponent lawyer on the other side, Mr. Rajiv Dhawan. He's a great scholar in law. He's an authority on constitutional law. He has an all-round knowledge of all branches of law. And he was a formidable opponent, argued formidable arguments. And very clear. He argued modern law, Muslim law, Hindu law, Roman law. The case in North Sul was a code. Limitation Act, Address Possession, Possessory Title, and many other branches of law. And he had also a very nice junior assisting advocate on the court, Mr. Ijaz Mohammed. And we have a duty to appreciate whether they are very on this side or on that side. The result of a case is not by one hand, only in both the hands. Joy in the judgment comes. Both sides have to be fully presented. Unless both sides are fully represented and argued well, the result, outcome will not be very good. I first apologize to all of you for the long time I delayed. I delayed by 40 minutes or so because I caught in a traffic jam for more than 45 minutes. I apologize to one and everyone here, to all of you. I wanted to start with this. I stopped at this stage. As I told you, this was the great teamwork. Not only that, people do wrongly think that lawyers and judges are enjoying long vacations, summer vacation, Christmas vacation, Dasara vacation. They are all mistaken. They don't know the work turned out by judges. They spend all their lifetime as judges only and the judicial work and less on their families. They are in the Supreme Court, they have to hear about 50 to 60 SLPs on every Monday. They read and come after reading all the papers. Not only that, they have to dictate judgments. They are treated abreast with law. All this they have to do it. What is the time? They don't have. Their vacation is really not vacation. They take a part of it for relaxation, but most of it clearing all that against the judgments and preparing, and they give themselves to study, reading lot of law books and other books. This is what they do. It was therefore the judgment in non-judgment movie is a result of the work they put by both the teams of lawyers and by the judges. And if you only know the arguments, the point raised by both sides, the trouble which Mr. Rajiv Dhawan gave in the case to us, and when I say trouble, not in a bad sense, the way he argued the case with such preparation and with such knowledge, and the way judges are putting questions, they were shooting like arrows, judges, like arrows, and they had to answer. Therefore, we have to prepare our arguments, we have to be devil lawyers to anticipate what they might argue or guess what they will argue and prepare answers, and to guess what sort of questions will come from the judge and how to answer. It is not an easy job. People who read this book will understand what is the work which has been turned out, what was the work which was done in the case. And this book is, just as the case is a unique one. No precedent, no subsequent cases will come, because we have to cover more than 400 years. Now, on 25th or so, 500 years of history. The Mughal rule, the British rule, the worship was, the Hindu worship was proved from the day the Mughal rulers went away and the colonial British rulers came to rule the country. At the earliest point of time, the district judge had held that Hindus who were working in that place, or these people have constructed a mosque. But after so many years, I can't do anything. It is unfortunate when the judgment was delivered on a Saturday. From Monday and Tuesday, there was criticism at the court by even several lawyers. I don't find fault with them. Judgments, our arguments are entitled to be criticized or appreciated. Judgments are liable to be criticized or appreciated. Only you do not criticize the judge personally. you can. But if they want to criticize, they should have read these 50 pages of record. Even if they don't read it, they must have at least read about 2,000 pages of the High Court judgment and about 1,000 pages of the Supreme Court. Then I would appreciate it. For that, 2 or 3 days would not have been sufficient. The perception, that is, one sees a mosque. It was a Babri masjid. Today one sees a temple. The mosque was demolished, an illegal act. Today the temple stands. Therefore, the verdict is wrong. It is not to be the approach. If people read the judgment carefully, they will know the points, they will know the arguments, they will know how the judges came to conclusion. But one peculiarity about this case is, it was not only the ordinary litigants who come to court were parties. Lord Ram Lalla was himself a party. God knocking at the doors and entering it, that is, God, a Hindu God, entering a temple of justice and seeking justice. And there are 5 suits. 1 suit was withdrawn, only 4 went to Supreme Court. Last of the cases was the suit filed by the Ram Lalla. It is a child, Ram Lalla is a child. The court is the patriarchs of children and the downtrodden, the bonded labor, people like bonded labor. A minor cannot sue. It has to be named an instrument or a guardian. The suit was filed by a retired judge of the Allahabad Court, named Justice Devaki Nandan. Devaki Nandan is Lord Krishna. He had to come to fight the case of Ram Lalla. And the plaintiff had also had the hand of a producer in the office of the Attorney General. That is, Mr. Narayan Sinha, hailing from Patna, from where my friend Anil Sharma is, who is the primary author of this book. A coincidence. And Ram chose 2 lawyers also to work in his case. The one was Lal Narayan Sinha, the Attorney General for India, my predecessor. The one who had to argue in court was my humble self, another former Attorney General. He chose 2 former Attorney Generals and 2 former Additional Solicitor Generals, Vaidyanathan and one who appeared in the case as who had been an Attorney General, who is never judge of the Supreme Court. You see the team whom Lord himself chose. God must have chosen appropriate persons. But even the other side must have good representation, a very good lawyer to argue. That should be the correct approach. Because one of the great qualities of Lord Ram is Ripurnamapi Vatsalaya. Even to his enemy, he will be kind. I am taking about him, should I stop? Because I wasted 45 minutes. Can I take another 5 or 10 minutes? Can I take another 5 or 10 minutes? Yes. So, Rama is Vigravan Dharma. That everybody knows. But he was also Ripurnam Vatsala. Even to his enemy, he was kind. He will be kind. To err is human. To forgive and forgive is divine. That is why the one has to be, have the ability to forgive. And that is one of the greatest of qualities. And the case when Ram Lalla would have seen the emblem and what is written in the Supreme Court. That is, Yato Dharmas Tato Jaya. On the day I landed at Delhi for receiving the judgment, my colleagues who had come there were all tense. I was also a little tense. One of them asked me, "Sir, what do you get?" I said, "I am feeling confident because the Lord had never sent anyone who approached him. The goddess of justice, Lord Ram has never sent anyone empty-handed." Why did it say it? Whatever Ram walked on the dharma, but Krishna will as if he walked on the adharma also. Therefore, first as Lord Ram, he showed how to walk on the path of dharma, demonstrated it. Next time, Krishna, don't bother about I follow it or not, but I can advise. He gave the advice in Bhagavad Gita as to how one should conduct himself. Therefore, there are several instances where we can link on occasions in Ramayana with law. You can link it with dharma. You can link it with justice. And that is the essence of Ramayana. Valmiki Ramayana, Tulsidas and Kamba Ramayana. It is, so many things has to be said, but I have delayed it with 40 minutes. I will stop my speech with this. I am grateful to God for giving this opportunity to begin the case. Myself, my team lawyers were all merely nimitta matra. God decided it is now 5 centuries. I must come back to the base. And it is Swayameva Karitavan, his hand which brought this case and recorded the result. A case which proceedings which went on for 50 years. The first suit was filed before the advent of the Constitution. A few weeks before the Constitution came into force. It all conveniently finished only in 2019. And it is all one decided by God as what should happen. And today, as when I said, God never sends anyone empty-handed. He did not send the Muslims empty-handed. They got land under judgment to be assigned to them by the government in which they could build another mosque. Because for them, Ayodhya is what Mecca is to them. But Ayodhya is not important for them. There are a number of mosques in Ayodhya, more than, it may be able to say, 18 or 19 or 20 mosques. Some of them are even dilapidated, but they don't go for prayers. Ayodhya was also not important for them. And for the population of that community, the mosques in Ayodhya are more than sufficient. Still, they get lands for building a mosque. Those who criticize the judgment, I would request them to read the entire judgment of both courts and records, read this book, and then start, if for whatever for points of criticism is there, they can free to express a right to freedom of speech and the Constitution. With this, I will conclude because I have delayed my arrival towards that's again the hand of God. I can tell you, Ayodhya case, I might have been instructed to open the first. But that was a very heavy rain. I left the house at 9:15. I was in court at 9:45. The court sits at 10:30. The car could not move. You could not see. I reached the court at 11. The case was already fought in half an hour. The counsel for Nirmohi Akara had started his case. So at 1 o'clock, when the judges were rising, they said, after lunch, Mr. Parasaran will continue the argument. And we expected to start answering the case which you opened, or the main suit for of the Muslims. But they put me on the task of arguing nominal last case first. It is, we had not fully comprehended how to present, because we were concentrating in the other case, which we thought was the main case. But God was with us. Lord Parasaran, whom I worship, was with us. We were able to manage, and then from next day, we could continue and do the case. But who I told you was, even the case started, I delayed and went after the judges had assembled. That repeated today, probably in one of my concluding participations in the functions at Ayodhya. That is again His will. I thank every one of you for having wasted your time of 45 minutes, and I have come here, and that too on a Friday evening, on the eve of holidays, before Diwali, to come here and to listen and to bless. I thank you, everyone on the dais, the eminent people, for having come here. And I feel I celebrated my date of birth on 9th October. We are on 17th October, only 8 days has gone. He is the same age. He is November, I am October. But he is a doctor. He knows how to take care of his health. He is stronger than me. I am weak. He is very sound, healthy. And his voice is quite clear. I have become weak and weakened because for tomorrow you are having a weekend. Thank you very much. Thank you. I can tell you to joke. Right away, what my friend Nageshwar said. When I landed at Delhi, after a struggle for reaching Delhi, because all the flights had left, by the time I had known that judgment was being delivered next day, because Saturday, we thought the judgment was normally not delivered on Saturday. So when I landed with a chartered flight, my grandson Vishnu was available to take care of me. He accompanied me. My friend, Nageshwar said, we were all making a joke that Vishnu has received the judgment of Lord Ram. Thank you all. I request all of you as a sadhas to bless me to have, I can't say sound health, etc., not to suffer problems of old age.
Can I request all of us to give a standing ovation for the Pitamaha of the Indian Bar? The evening's purpose is now fulfilled after hearing those generous words of lived wisdom. One can hardly fathom the kaleidoscopic nature of the Ram Janmabhoomi case so beautifully captured in this book, which required this encyclopedic Pitamaha of the Indian bar to delve into the voluminous text of evidence and facts. The entire history of this bar constitutes his epoch-making life that made his Janma Bhoomi of Tamil Nadu proud in his Karma Bhoomi of Delhi. Thank you, sir. The case for Ram, an untold insider's story, is a 472-page package that is an apt gift for this Deepavali in Chennai. The light shed by this book on the story that animated the days and months leading to the final arguments for the Ram Janmabhoomi case is precious and is a living archive of memory for all those events and episodes that strode past it. In this labor of dedication and expression, the role of the authors has been vital. May I request Sri Anirudh Sharma to say a few words on the book and propose the vote of thanks.
Namaskar everyone. Generally in Kali Yuga, we see people claiming other people's credit. But today we are having a rare situation where we have a former retired judge of the Supreme Court who left an illustrious practice which very few people dream of attaining or having, and he feels that he did not make a sacrifice. We have Mr. Parasaran who believes that he did not work in the case. We have Mr. Vaidyanathan, he said Mr. Parasaran only worked in the case. If you ask Ranjit Kumar sir, he would say, Mr. Parasaran and Mr. Vaidyanathan worked, I did not do anything. Hence, we are in a very difficult situation in a Kali Yuga. We may start doubting if Kali Yuga has arrived. One great man had something to say about the other great man. According to Bertrand Russell, throughout his life, Aristotle maintained that women had lesser teeth than men. Aristotle is also known as the father of biology. Bertrand Russell is surprised that Aristotle never bothered to count men and women's teeth. Many of the comments that we have seen is akin to that world-renowned intellectual, Aristotle. Sometimes people do make the error of not counting the teeth. Since the book referred to the work of Sri Parasaran and his life, we were very particular to follow Sir's path of faith and reason. We don't know if we have succeeded or not. We made an attempt to present to you in a manner wherein any college student could appreciate and understand this case dealing with Indian civilization. The factual dispute of Ayodhya Janmabhoomi case during the 6th and what was presented to the court as a picture of 16th century, 17th century, 18th century, all recorded by those who were not Indians and did not follow any of the faith present in India during those periods. We also have tried to portray what the British saw in India when they arrived in India, of course in a representative capacity, and only as a representation of what the total volume of the evidence was there in the case. The case was also interesting because it was perhaps the first case in the world where evidence did not just lay over the earth, evidence was also dug from below the earth. Archaeology was referred to, and Mr. C.S. Vaidyanathan and Ms. Meenakshi Arora from the opposite side have presented an example before the world and lawyers of the world as to how to use archaeological evidence in a court of law. We have also sought to bring out the evidence and the cross-examination of the parties as referred to by the counsel of the opposite sides, of course, again in a representative manner. Justice D.Y. Shailendra Kumar, if I remember his name appropriately, whose son Ashwin Kumar DS was part of our team and who is here, referred to Mrs. Saroja Parasaran as nothing less than Annapurna. We could prepare in the case because of the same energy that we saw in Mrs. Nandini Parasaran. She not only had the difficult task to keep an eye on Sir, Mr. Parasaran, because in his devotion to Ram he would forget to take his medicines, but she also ensured that none of us were ever tired or hungry, and we got the best possible food working late nights or even early morning. Sir, at the age of 92, could work because perhaps Mrs. Nandini Parasaran could work with 4 hands, and Mrs. Satish Parasaran in Chennai could look after him in the same manner. It is no wonder that Mr. Parasaran is biased towards his daughter-in-laws against his sons. In our team, our colleague Aditi Dani, while toiling tirelessly, kept the gang of boys disciplined. Her probing questions kept the team on its feet, and literally on its feet. We nearly came to a situation where 2 heavyweights weighing less than 50 kgs, Aditi and PV Yogeshwaran, virtually threatened our existence. But then that was all part of intellectual brawl that often took place. And when this took place, Sir, with his humor, came in. Generally, people would think that lawyers are a boring person, but not a moment with Mr. Parasaran or many of the other lawyers also is boring. Sir is not only wrapped in humility and knowledge, but also in humor. During one such very serious discussion, or rather an intellectual brawl, where we were threatened by the 2 under 50 kg weighing heavyweights, PV Yogeshwaran and Aditi, Sir quickly brought in and said, I have to tell you a story of a very interesting man. And I would just quote what Sir said. We went to Sir talked about a gathering which was full of men. And there, a very important issue was being debated. Is there a man in the world who is not scared of his wife? This question was asked to the crowd. A person who had just entered, after hearing this, he went out. Everyone ran to the man, asking, you are the he-man, you have the power. What is the secret of your power? The man just replied that my wife has told me not to be for long in a crowded place. That was the wit of Sir, which when we used to get tired, used to again bring us back to our feet. Or when we used to get carried away by our own notions, Sir used to bring us back to the facts of the case. I would take this opportunity to thank again Justice Nageshwar Rao for having taken his valuable time and come here. Sir was very kind, and when Mr. Potaraju went to invite him, he immediately agreed. I would also like to thank Dr. Hande, who at this age took pains to visit us and bless this book here. Mr. C.S. Vaidyanathan would again say that he has not done anything, but Sir was deep into the case, 100%, and Sir immediately agreed to come. We did not have to speak to him for the second time. Of course, we all have had the blessings of Mr. Parasaran, not only we, but even Justice Rao, Mr. Vaidyanathan, and many of the people here. And we are extremely grateful to Sir to have blessed us, come here for the event, and also bless the book. We have in our midst the heavyweights, Mr. Yogeshwaran. Mr. Yogeshwaran, please. Mr. Yogeshwaran, Aditi Dani, and Ashwin. May we request them to come here. We are very grateful for their contribution. They were an integral part of the team. And I would beg for forgiveness from all the dignitaries to say that maybe Mr. Yogeshwaran overshadows everyone in the book, the heavyweight that he is. It is no surprise that Justice Rao immediately remembered Mr. Yogeshwaran. Once you meet him, you cannot forget him. Please, I would request Mr. Yogeshwaran to come. And after reading the book, Tamil Nadu and Chennai will be proud of its son, Mr. Yogeshwaran. Aditi Dani, please. Please come. Sir, please, on the stage. I would again thank each and every one of you who have come here and have blessed us. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Ani.